and welcome to the next episode of 25 Live at Home. We are so glad that you all joined us this week. This week, we are actually excited to prepare for our trunk or treat. You'll see that if you watch this video before you go to that. That's awesome, fantastic. If not, you may be watching this video after it's already happened. We're so excited that next week, you will get to see and hear from some of our folks that hosted a trunk. So we're super excited about that. Let's get into our Bible story this morning. This morning, we are still in Luke. We are in chapter 20, verses 27 to 38. Today, we're going to hear about a little bit of a question that was given to Jesus. So let's hear our gospel story this morning. Some of the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to Jesus with a question. "Teacher," they said, "Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and leaves a wife but no children, the man must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first one married a woman and died childless. The second and then the third married her in the same way. The 7 died, leaving no children. Finally, the woman died too. Now then, at the resurrection, whose wife shall she be, since the 7 were married to her?" Jesus replied, "The people of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy of taking part in the age to come and in the resurrection from the dead will neither marry nor be given in marriage. And they can no longer die, for they are like angels. They are God's children, since they are children of the resurrection. But in the account of the burning bush, even Moses showed that the dead rise. For he calls the Lord the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for to him all are alive." So let's jump into our Bible story today. So today, we're going to cover our 5 W's, our who, when, where, what, and why. So in our story today, Jesus is in Jerusalem, which is our where, right? Or our when and where. Jesus is in Jerusalem. He's actually in Holy Week. So this is that final week of Jesus' life. And the Sadducees, or the religious leaders of the time, are really ramping up the pressure on Jesus, trying to get him in trouble, trying to discredit him, trying to prevent him from disrupting their religious world that they currently have. They're worried about Roman occupation. They're worried about the trouble that Jesus might cause. And they really like things the way they are. So they're really ramping up the pressure on Jesus and trying to get him to stumble over things. But Jesus is likely with crowds, with his disciples, but he's going to be tested today by the Sadducees. So the Sadducees are a powerful, aristocratic Jewish religious faction, primarily made up of priests and wealthy elite people who controlled the temple and the Sanhedrin, which is a council of Jewish leadership. So as we're in this story, Jesus, we are in the final year of his life, that 30 to 33 AD period of time. Jesus is headed towards the cross. We eventually know what happens to Jesus at the end of this week. So what's going on and why are we talking about this? Well, the Sadducees, they don't believe in the resurrection. The resurrection being that time that the Savior, or the Messiah, as the Jewish people would have heard him called, would come back from the dead, that he would overcome the grave. And we know and we love Jesus because he was actually resurrected. He came back from the grave, right? He defeated death. The stone got rolled away. Well, the Sadducees don't believe that's going to happen. It's not something that they think. They don't really believe in Jesus as the Messiah. They think he's just some troublemaker who's saying things. And unfortunately, there are things that make them upset. And so they decide that it's time to trick Jesus. And so they come to him with this really difficult question that they think, oh, we've got him. We're going to get Jesus to say the wrong thing. And they do this a lot, but they're really doing it more and more often as we're in Holy Week. So they ask him the question about these women about this woman who gets married to one of 7 brothers. And now, in the law of the Jewish people at the time, if a woman dies if a man dies after being married to a woman and they have no kids, then the man's brother is supposed to marry that woman and raise children for his dead brother, right? And so the Sanhedrin and the Sadducees they come to Jesus and they say that this happens 7 times. that this woman actually gets married to every one of the 7 brothers. Each of them passes away, and there are no kids. And so they come up with this really complicated question because they want to know what happens at the time of the resurrection. Whose brother, which of the brothers is she going to be married to? Whose wife is she? Now, this is a really complicated question, but it's not one they really want a good answer to. They're just looking to get Jesus in trouble. They're hoping that he's going to pick one of the 7 brothers and that'll be the wrong answer and they'll go, I gotcha, right? They really want to get Jesus in trouble, and that's what they're working hard to do. So they're doing this in front of these large crowds and they're testing Jesus. But Jesus answers to them this. Their question isn't really all that important. What is important is that they are believers and children of God, loved and called to be by his side. That's what the resurrection means, that we'll be called to be with God. And Jesus said that, here on earth, you're giving away these people in marriage. But at the end of the day, at the resurrection, what's most important is that you're a child of God. So why is this important? Well, it's Jesus showing us how to handle conflict with grace, right? How to handle conflict calmly, how to handle it coolly, and how to keep the most important thing the most important thing. Unfortunately, there are people out there in our world, and there were back at this time, that they're not looking to actually have an argument with you. We sometimes call that a bad faith argument. They are just looking to have the gotcha moment, or to make you look bad, or to get angry, or to be able to circle back to what they really believe and tell everybody what they believe and why they're right and you're wrong. Those are called bad faith arguments. And Jesus today shows us how to handle those bad faith arguments. First of all, he falls back on what he knows. He knows God's love is the most important thing. He doesn't argue, get angry with these men. He stays calm, and he shares what he knows to be true. Jesus doesn't want us to get angry or worked up when we see these kinds of arguments or tests that set people up for those moments of gotcha and failure. Jesus calls us to remain calm, to share what we know, and to, at all times, show God's grace and God's love to other people, even those people that we disagree with. A true good argument or a true good debate relies on people on both sides remaining calm, being professional, being good to each other, and knowing at the end of the day that both of us are God's children. And so we both need to respect and show that care for each other. The men that you hear about in our story today, these Sadducees, are the religious insiders and the elite. They want to keep things the way they are because it benefited them. It kept them wealthy. It kept them in power. They wanted to keep things the way that they were and to push Jesus out because Jesus was this outsider who called for the poor and called for those who were not taken care of in the world to be given equal and fair treatment, right? Jesus came to break these barriers that these men have. And that's why they came to Jesus with these tests. They came to Jesus with these tests because they wanted to trap and to trick Jesus. They didn't want to actually have a debate with Jesus and to actually hear what he said or to try and change their mind. They were only seeking to get Jesus in trouble. And I think we can learn from the grace and the calm and the compassion that Jesus shows that it's important to remember that we can keep what's most important central in all of our answers and our truths. That God's love is for everyone. It's not for the elite. It's not for those who have the most power or access or wealth. God loves all of us, no matter who we are, because we are wonderfully and perfectly made. And we can be thankful for that. Thanks be to God.
Please tell us about Community Crisis Services and how it serves our community.
Community Crisis Services is a volunteer-driven organization that provides non-judgmental, immediate support in time of need to individuals facing emotional, food, and financial crisis. We were founded in 1970 with the vision that everyone deserves support in a time of need, and we have a food bank, financial support, and various mental health programs that serve our community.
Great. What do you do at Community?
So my name is Kendall, and I'm the Communications and Development Coordinator here at Community. So that means I wear a couple different hats. I'm in fundraising, marketing, social media, events, outreach, donor retention, and more. So I love being able to connect with my community, to spread awareness, and to advance how we impact our neighbors in crisis.
And how does community offer support to individuals or families in crisis with mental health concerns?
So there are a lot of programs that we have that help support our community with mental health. Our first and most recent is Healing Prairie Farm, which is a partnership we did with United Action for Youth. That is youth crisis stabilization and youth shelter services. We also have horses and pigs and things like that on the farm, so it's a very healing environment. On top of that, we also have Youth Mobile Crisis, which is part of our Mobile Crisis Response Program. That is something that you can call the number. It's 855-581-8111. Text or call. They can come out to you. They average about 28 minutes in Johnson County, but we also serve Iowa County. They'll come out to you, talk to you for as long as you need, follow up with you after to make sure they're supporting your long-term care. And then on top of that, this is what we first started doing is our crisis helpline services. It was actually founded by two girls in Burge Hall that realized that we don't have services available for people who are in crisis right now. So our counselors answer the 988 suicide and lifeline text and chat in the state of Iowa. And if you ever need emotional support, please text 24/7, call, text, chat 24/7, 365, any time of the day, and there is someone there to help you and support you.
So you're saying, because we are working with kids
Mhm.
24/7, that's round the clock,
Round the clock,
anytime, it
Christmas.
doesn't matter. Yeah,
Literally any time. There's always someone there. You are not alone.
wonderful. How does community,
Next one.
sorry, what are the top things you need from the community to support your mission?
The first thing that comes to my mind is awareness. Just getting the awareness out that there are resources available for our neighbors in our community. But on top of that, the funding landscape right now is changing rapidly. Funding is incredibly unstable, and we need donations in order to support our continued success of these programs. So we ask people to donate, come and volunteer with a friend, host a food drive, spread awareness with the knowledge you have, or you can always email and get materials and have them out. But we can all do that together, so that's the really cool thing about it.
And how old do you need to be to volunteer at community in its various areas? Like, are there different age restrictions?
So at the food bank, that's our biggest need, and you have to be 16 years old to volunteer on your own. But if you're not, you can bring a parent or guardian with you, and it's really fun. You can sort, stock, help with donations coming in at the food bank, or you can also go to our mobile pantry, which is pop-ups throughout Johnson County in neighborhoods, which is really fun. Or you could help deliver groceries too if you have a license, to people who are not able to come to our food bank. So yeah, but the people there are amazing, and it's like such a wonderful example of how teamwork and working together can really impact our community, but just one person's life. So yeah, I would really recommend volunteering. It's really fun. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like us to share with our families that we didn't ask you?
I don't know. Just like, even when you're in doubt, just use our resources. It's for everyone. Just because you might have some sort of opinion on who should be using that, everyone is going through something, and it's always okay to get help. Yeah.
That's good to know. So there's no financial restrictions
No.
or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
And is there anything more you want to share about your newest project with the farm?
There's so much to share. I think it's just something that we need to have everyone know about because it serves the whole state of Iowa, and we have a very good hospital diversion rate, especially in youth. A lot of the times the kids want to come back or they don't want to leave. We don't hear that a lot in certain settings pertaining to mental health. So Like, yeah, I just need everyone to know about Healing Furry Farm because I wish I had it as a kid, and I think it is incredibly important to the success of our future and our community. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening in to Sara and Nichole and our guest speaker. Today, we are going to talk a little bit with our table conversations about our Bible story. So here are 5 really good questions you and your family can talk about. When are times we get into arguments that make us mad? How do we talk when we get into those conversations? Are we someone who gets really stressed, really angry, really grumpy, and gets combative? Or can we remain calm? Are there things in the Bible that we have a hard time believing in? How do we help each other keep our faith? I think about the Sadducees who had this really hard time believing in the resurrection. How do we deal with those things that are a really hard time? Who are safe people to bring hard conversations to? When you think about this story and how the Sadducees wanted to just get in an argument and trick Jesus, right? When we have really hard conversations, who are safe people we can bring it to that we know will actually give us really good answers or really talk it through with us? Are there times that people test our faith in God? Are there things happening in the world? Are there disagreements? Are there things that really make us frustrated and wonder about our relationship with God? And then the last question, how can we show God's love even when we have disagreements? I hope you all have a wonderful table conversation. I hope you come out and join us for joined us for Trunk or Treat, or will join us for Trunk or Treat, and we will see you back here next week. Thank you so much. Bye.